Welcome to the Summit for Wellness podcast, where we help you climb to the peak of your health. And now, here is your host, Brian Carroll.
It's been a little while since our last podcast episode. The last episode was with Melissa K. Norris, and we talked about different ways to preserve the food that you grow in your garden. So if you have not listened to that and you have a garden, definitely go back and listen to that episode. But we haven't been just sitting around doing nothing. If you've been watching our YouTube channel, we've been posting a lot more videos this year. That was one of our goals this year, was to get a lot more videos on YouTube. So head on over to summitforwellness.com/YouTube, and you can see some of the stuff we've been doing over there. But now we're back in the swing of things with the podcast. We have a lot of great episodes lined up for you. And today we will be talking about telomeres and anti-aging with Doc Misak. If you don't know who I am, I'm Brian Carroll, and I help people move more, eat well, and be adventurous. And Doc Misak is on the show today to help us to age gracefully. So we'll be talking about different ways to improve our telomeres, how to really focus on proper nutrition and reducing exposures to different toxins and whatnot in the environment, so that as we age, we have less load on our systems. So let's jump into my conversation with Doc Misak. Thanks, Doc Misak, for coming onto the show.
I'm looking forward to a good one.
Yeah, me too. And we're definitely going to be talking about anti-aging and telomeres, which is definitely a very hot topic right now. But before we get into that, let's learn a little bit more about who you are and what your background is.
I am a pharmacist, initially graduating West Virginia University, realized that medicine is all about disease management. I'm always interested. My thing is, how do things work? I loved anatomy, physiology, biochemistry. Next thing you know, I discovered naturopathic medicine. I'm out in Oregon getting my naturopathic doctorate degree back in the year 2000. I did compounding pharmacy while I was there. And then I moved back to Pittsburgh, where I do podcast shows, I teach, and just keep diving down that rabbit hole of how do things work. I discovered basically a quantum bioelectric concept of the human body, and teach people that anybody can be healthy if you learn how to understand some basic chemistry principles of what we are made of. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. And having the pharmacy background and the naturopathic background, that must be really interesting for you, because you're looking at, conventional approaches to medication, and then you're also getting that experience with more of natural substances as well. So having access to both of those realms, what has that done for your own practice and the way that you see people and how to help people?
Well, I'm in a non-licensed naturopathic state, so I can't turn around and say stop that medication, but I can say, hey, if I were to work on stopping any medications, this is the order that I would stop them. These are the ones that you can just quit. These are the ones that you have to slowly wean off of. This is how we would monitor to know when you're ready to come off of them, and things like that. I've really become a purist in teaching people how food is your primary source of medicine, by helping people to understand, to realize which foods are good or bad for them by some simple testing at home. But also, when you're looking at supplements, we look at the aspect of support. What does the body actually need? And mostly it's minerals and basic vitamins. It's not all the fish oils, CoQ10, turmeric, frankincense, all the anti-inflammatories. And, let's not fix a system. Let's look at the whole body, but enhance its ability is the concepts of what I brought into the picture for people.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It seems like a lot of the, like you said, the anti-inflammatories is trying to chase the symptoms instead of trying to build up strong foundations. So there is, that component where you do need to reduce inflammation, but you also need to work on the foundation of the person as well.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time you will see the basic concept that disease is an inflammation-based process, and so they say inflammation is the cause of all disease. Well, I could explain that to you on a quantum level, what's electromagnetically happening. Yes, that's the case. But the goal is, there's these principles of natural medicine. First, like the healing power of nature, the first do no harm, the doctor as a teacher, the treat the whole person. There's these concepts of natural medicine that separates it from traditional. It's like let's have a philosophy of how the body truly restores itself versus I've got a disease, I got to take care of that disease. So let's look at the whole body. And for me, I came up with a few ways of explaining it. One, I came up with what I call a 5-phase approach. Phase 1, environmental protection, pure air, pure food, pure water, EMF protection. Looking at the factors of how you're interacting with the world around you to affect your body's ability to homeostatically respond to its environment. Phase 2, identify your causes. Test. What are you reacting to? What are your food allergies? What are you reacting to environmental toxicities? And identify your problems. Phase 3, support. So what does your body actually need? Not, hey, I've got an adrenal, thyroid, liver issue, taking support for those particular organ systems, but biochemically, what does the body need to functionally improve its efficiency? And I do it through a simple home urine and saliva test. Phase 4, detox. If you totally lower the body can only handle so much stress. You exceed that stress, the body says, I can't do this, I can only do this. And so something's got to give. And so based upon your genetic predispositions, your environmental exposures, what your body cannot process, something breaks down. So we see symptoms. So the idea is if you lower the total load by cleaning up your air, pure food, water, EMF, if you identify what your stressors are and stop eating those foods and then you give the body what it needs, you raise your threshold. Hey, I can tolerate more because I'm actually getting what I need. Well, now this body's got this aspect of like, hey, I'm generating more energy than I'm consuming, so let's start cleaning up shop here. And detox is a natural process. It's part of the restoration, but it's not just go detox and you'll get better. People do detox and feel better, but if they don't clean up the environment, reduce what the stressors are, what their causes of illness, give the body what it needs, you're just going to go right back into the same patterns. And so phase 5 is self-awareness. Huge. You can turn around and they're not phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 any origin, because you can turn around and say many people just need to learn self-awareness and be like, you know what, I'm eating crap. Why don't I stop? I might feel better, and just make that association. Hey, when I go out for beer, pizza, and tacos, and I feel like crap the next day, maybe I shouldn't do the beer, pizza, and tacos, and I should think of a different approach to how I'm going about that. And if I'm actually looking for health being a maintenance of what I'm truly looking for. So, that's a simplified way of looking at it, but that 5-phase approach gives people a way of interacting with the world around them. The bioelectric chemistry that I teach, that's a whole other aspects of understanding that, there's chemistry aspects that we can measure at home that give you an idea of whether I'm eating the right foods and whether I'm generating more energy than I'm consuming. And I just opened up a big door for you to say, where do we want to go with this conversation, right?
Yep. And I want to go back to the environmental protection because I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I don't really know how to formulate this question, but I think you'll have a good response to whatever I come up with. When it comes to our environment and the level of different toxic chemicals or whatever it is that we get exposed to, and now with the increase in wildfires, so being outside where you would think you would get like the best, cleanest air, now it's getting a little, just full of stuff that's really not that good for you. If we're looking into the future and trying to protect ourselves from the environment, is our future of a healthy environment going to be more of an indoor type of environment with a lot of sanitary type practices that could then also put us at more risk if we exit those sanitary environments to get sick in other ways? Or is our future of a healthy environment still going to be outside?
Well, it's both. I mean, where do you spend most of your time? Indoor air quality sucks. What's off-gassing from your carpet? What's off-gassing from the sealants? What's off-gassing from whatever, volatile organic compounds, things like that. You got to look at bacteria, mold, mycotoxins. indoor air quality just, if people closed up their houses and we're getting more tightly sealed houses and things are just recirculating because we don't have great filtration systems on our indoor air. We just recycle the air, Mm-hmm. And most of what you're breathing is skin cells and dust mites and all types of fun things when you look at that cloud coming through the sunlight when you open your curtains in the morning. So I do encourage people to have air purifiers that do radiocatalytic ionization and germicidal ultraviolet and the ions cause the particulates to grab and then gravity to take them out. Sometimes even low dose ozone. High dose ozone, yeah, you can irritate airways and you can get too much, but as a natural way to cleanse and detoxify and sterilize, your countertops and things, radiocatalytic ionization and ozone can do wonders for people who are living in bad environments. As far as outside is concerned, what's in our skies, what's coming from jets, what's coming from, who knows what, is in our air. You can look at air quality, and living in cities is actually obviously worse than living out away from things. And it's definitely a concern. Look at what's in our waterways. If you believe that tap water is just as safe to drink as distilled water, I think you're crazy. Those anything that your body's exposed to, whether you're breathing it, drinking it, absorbing it through your skin, when it gets in your body, your system says electromagnetically, can I use this or is it a burden? And we just have exceeded our burdens. Our thresholds are exceeded. So just cleaning up your environment with quality of air, quality of water, what you're bathing in, what type of products you're putting on your body, what kind of foods are you eating? Genetically modified foods? Are you eating pesticide laden foods? Are you washing those pesticides off? Are you electromagnetic fields? Just look at the research on 5G. It's scary stuff, and go to your phone right now and look up Wi-Fi signals. How many pop up? You're bombarded with electromagnetic fields. What are you doing about that? So there are ways to neutralize those fields. Shungites, various types of crystals have been used to neutralize those type of electrical fields. There are some devices that work and some that claim that they work. So I look for ones that have shown to have some type of EMF protection. You can't get away from it, but you can neutralize its effect on you. So just cleaning up your environment really can have a positive impact overall on your well-being because your body adapts to the environment that you're in.
Right. Well, let's start diving into telomeres a little bit. I don't know a whole lot about telomeres, so I'm really excited to learn from you about what telomeres are. So can you tell us what are telomeres? Just like a quick and dirty example of it.
Telomeres are on the end of your DNA, within your chromosomes. They're the part of the DNA that in regards to replication, and it says, hey, we're going to keep making this because this is healthy, it's going to make the best possible DNA that it can. But as telomeres shorten, our DNA ability to replicate diminishes and dies off. What they found is that telomere shortening is directly associated with aging, period. As telomeres shorten, you age, period. And in 2009, the Nobel Prize in Medicine was won by 3 physiologists. Look it up, 2009 Nobel Prize. And these 3 physiologists discovered an enzyme called telomerase, telomerase, ASE. If you ever look at enzymes in your digestive enzymes or systemic enzymes, all of them end in ASE. It's an enzyme, right? So telomerase is an enzyme that as it's high in amount, it prevents telomeres from shortening. And as they shorten, we age. And so these physiologists showed that, hey, if we stimulate this enzyme, we have prematurely aged mice, white hair, arthritic, cataracts, kidney failure, senile, couldn't get through mazes. We stimulated the enzyme, and not just did telomeres not shorten, but they anti-aged the mice. Their hair got dark, their joint pain went away, their kidney failure went away, their brains actually on autopsy grew by 25%. So they literally reverse age these mice. So, oh my God. So I'm in How do things work? Greatest anti-aging discovery ever. Okay, pharmacy background, compounding pharmacy background. I did telomere research and found wow, there are natural products that stimulate telomerase activity. I looked, okay, are there any products on the market that do this? And there was one, it's expensive as crap, that had cycloastraglinol and astragaloside 4, 2 astragalus extracts in it. And if you were taking the doses that they were claiming that prevented telomeres from shortening, it could cost you like $2,000 a month. So rich and famous, stay short, stay anti-aging, right? So I turned around, and from a naturopathic standpoint and from a pharmacist standpoint, I formulated a product called Vitalometry. And so what I did is I looked at all these different types of products, mostly herbs, that were showing telomerase activity. And I said, okay, if these herbs all have telomerase activity, why hasn't anybody taken herbs that all have telomerase activity and use them in a way that just supports the body? And that's what made sense to me from a naturopathic doctor, pharmacist standpoint. So astragalus, those extracts, the cycloastraglinol, astragaloside 4, I put them in there, but not in those high amounts. But then I used astragalus because it has been shown that. But what's astragalus do? Adrenal support, immune support, supports the liver, adrenal glands, those type of things. Milk thistle, heard about that? Who hasn't? Liver support, right? Still also has telomerase activity. Ginkgo. Okay, wait a minute. These brains grew by 25%. Well, what if I enhance circulation to the brain, right? With ginkgo, keep the blood thin, a little bit of small amount of blood thinning ability, so the blood flow improves well. But get blood flow. But it also had telomerase activity. Purslane, weed in your garden. Most people pull it and throw it away. But it's the richest source of omega-3 fatty acids. And what omega-3 fats do? Every cell membrane has healthy fats. Your brain, mostly healthy fat. Let's improve the ability and translocation of minerals and nutrients across the cell membranes by giving healthy fats. Also, purslane, telomerase activity. There's an herb called Sinomorium. It's a Chinese yang tonic. It's known for sexual vitality, and strong amount, again, telomerase activity, but it gives you that energy without having that wiry kind of caffeine effect. And then you also, if you go and get the book on telomeres, it's called The Telomere Effect by Elizabeth Blackburn. She was one of the 3 physiologists, and she wrote a book. And she talks about antioxidants and poor lifestyle. We could talk about that too. But antioxidants. And so green tea, most powerful, one of the ellagic acids, one of the most powerful antioxidants out there, shown to have anti-cancer effect, shown to help metabolism and digestion aspect, cardiovascular health. Again, telomerase activity. Resveratrol and elderberry. Again, let's support our immune system. Also, telomerase activity, right? And then that bioelectric chemistry stuff that I teach, you have to have, if you look at electric aspect of what we are, you have sodium and potassium starting electric potentials going mostly through calcium channels, and calcium regulates the movement of all minerals in and out of the cells. So I put some calcium phosphate in there called Mincol, and I put a little bit of lemon. Because lemon is completely anionic in nature. Everything in nature is positive and negative charges, cations and anions. And anions disperse, right? So lemon's fully anionic. When you teach bioelectric chemistry, you have to be drinking lemon as part of your regimen. But it also, what about lemons and vitamin C and antioxidant activity and stuff like that? So I put this stuff together. I started mixing these powders from a compounding pharmacy, making these capsules, taking them. I'm like, oh my God, do I really feel this good? So I asked my clients, would you like to try something? And they're like, are you asking me to be experiment, Dr. Misak? And I'm like, that's up to you. I'll give you some capsules. Every one of them. Can I get more of these? All of them asked me. And any negative effect? No, I feel great. Would you sell me some of these? Like, no, but within a year and a half, I turned around and came up with Vitalometry, put it on the market, and it took off from there. My favorite story from Vitalometry is my dog, Clara. I had a 13-year-old lab, and she was losing bladder control. She was peeing around the house. She was walking. She never went out of the yard. She knew the boundaries. You could just let her out. She'd go out and she'd come back in. Next thing you know, I have people like, did you know your dog's in the middle of the road? No. Did you know your dog's across the street? No. She was becoming senile. She couldn't make it up the stairs. My wife was like, we need to put her down. I'm like, you know what? Let me try one thing first. So I took the ingredients from Vitalometry and I mixed them with hydrolyzed collagen because, joint issues and nail and skin health, and she was having that. And next thing you know, my dog's playing like a puppy. And not only that, she lived to be 15 years old, still able to walk up the stairs, still able to make it to the door and say, I got to the bathroom. She was still slow. 15-year-old purebred lab, but still, she was a happy dog, right? And I ran out of making her product, and I didn't bring it home within like a week, and she just started going downhill so fast, peeing, couldn't make up, fell down the stairs. My wife's like, I'm not going through this again, and I'm like, I agree, and at that point we chose to have her put down, But over 15 years on a purebred lab, just as a testimony for what we have seen. Yet alone, I tell people, if you really, we don't make claims because we can't, But if people go to Amazon and find Vitalometry, it's Vitelometry, Vitalometry. You can go to vitalometry.com or you can go to docmisak.com, and there's links to it there with all my shows and history and stuff. And but if you go to Amazon, you can read reviews because people do reviews on the product. And I tell people, I'm not going to make claims. Just read what other people have said about taking the product. And just great stories. Most people, increased energy, mental focus. We've had people have their sex life return in their 70s. We've had just beautiful stories, chronic fatigue, all types of things improving. But I'm not going to sit here and say that it does anything, because we just call it anti-aging science, because we want to stay on the air and be able to tell you about it in today's day of scrutiny, what can be said or not said. So I listen to testimonies and learn more. And again, if people go to vitalometry.com or go to Doc Misak and find the product through the vitalometry.com website, because of us doing these shows, if they use Summit 10, SUMMIT, number 10, if they use Summit 10, we'll give a 10% discount. We know they listen to the show and they tried the product.
Perfect. I know a lot of people will definitely enjoy getting that 10% off discount. When it comes to telomeres and telomerase, is there any way to actually test to see, the length of your telomeres and be able to, see on paper how things are changing?
Definitely. I used to try to incorporate and encourage people to do it, to test and then retest 6 to 9 months later. But it's expensive. It's probably about $160 or so. But again, Elizabeth Blackburn, has a company called Teloyears. I think it's Teloyears, Teloyears or something like that. And basically, you can order a test, and it what they do is she gives you an idea of your telomere length, and appropriates it based upon your age to say, hey, you're 40, but you have telomeres the length of a 60-year-old because you have a lot of stress on them. And bottom line, we were talking about, hey, inflammation causing disease, and what shortens your telomeres is stress, childhood trauma, and people who carry trauma and mental stress. Then it's been shown that people who meditate, their telomeres lengthen. Poor diet and lifestyle, saturated fats and things like that. shortens your telomeres, whereas healthy foods and basic vitamins and antioxidants can actually lengthen your telomeres. Your body needs good nutrition, you know. And so her book really outlines some of that. I love the aspects of how mental awareness and dealing with your childhood traumas and those things can really, you know, you just carry this cycle through your head of crap, and it actually, that stress that we create in our own minds makes you age quicker. You know, that's a you know, gives you reason to work on your mental thought processes, right? You know, and so there's a lot of things out there, and I just came about it from a different angle. I looked at it from an eclectic standpoint, from a naturopathic, something that supports all these body systems to work better with the telomere activity, and it just took into something that turned into something beautiful for people that have tried it.
Now, going back to the environment, if you were in an environment like a hyperbaric chamber where you're getting increased loads of oxygen, would that also help your telomeres?
Sure. I have a hyperbaric chamber in the room right beside me. You know, what you're doing is you're going back and asking basic mechanisms of cellular health. You know, oxygen's needed, but you got to ask the question, why is there lack of oxygen? It's typically poor sugar regulation. It's people who are eating bad foods, or people who are sugar crashing because they're either drinking too much water or eating the wrong sugars. They're over secreting insulin. They're bottoming out their sugars. With sugar regulation, we see oxygen availability in the body. And that's part of the chemistry concept that I teach. I can teach you how to get a refractometer, test your urine whenever you go to the bathroom, watch your patterns, and you'll learn whether you're eating the wrong foods or drinking enough water. If you monitor your pH, particularly your urine pH, you'll see which foods, you know, cause an acid effect while your sugars go up. It's a food allergy. And then I teach, hey, based upon where your pH is, you need to eat these food because they have the minerals that move your chemistry back towards an ideal. You know, and there's more to the chemistry. It's YouTube, Doc Misak on YouTube. It's all on there. I've got basic videos that kind of show a whiteboard ad that explains the basics of it. I have multiple shows. I think everybody should understand that you can be healthy, you know. But the thing is when you start testing your chemistry, then you got to realize, oh my God, am I making the right choices? Because when you watch the chemistry, you're like, oh, I can't get that down because I keep eating crappy foods because I enjoy eating them. You know, so it means making choices by analytically measuring and seeing, hey, I eat that, it's crappy for me, you know? And so that's a whole other show based upon, you know, talking about telomeres and anti-aging. You know, anti-aging people, you know, find who you are. If you deal with your stress and your mental self-awareness. And I think the best person out there is the holistic psychologist, Nicole LaPera. Her book, you know, and how to do the work and taking those steps to recognize the moment of where we are, and not internalizing and running the crap scenarios through our head that really never happened, and really, you know, becoming the person that you want to believe, and setting up healthy boundaries, and realizing that internal stress is a huge component of everything. She's just beautiful in how she teaches it. But the aspects of, you know, dealing with that aspect of life, and then understanding the chemistry of life where I teach, I watch miracles happen. You know, it's that simple. You know, I see people who think that they're going to deal with chronic debilitating issues for the rest of their life, and they realize that, wait a minute, I can actually build my body to restore, and recognizing what's throwing it out, not just by taking fish oils, CoQ10, a good multi, you know, the basics, but specifically identifying what you need. So it's such a rewarding aspect. I love what I do.
Can you lengthen telomeres too much and have it cause problems on the other end?
Never heard of that. There is concerns out there in the telomere aspect of saying, hey, if we lengthen the telomeres of cancerous cells, we're lengthening the age of cancer cells. And so Elizabeth Blackburn does put that out there, like, hey, you know, can we actually sustain the life of a bad cell? You know, and have it replicating bad cells consistently. So what I teach from a chemistry standpoint is your body is not into repairing cells, it's into replacing and getting rid of the old and making sure that your body is in the process of giving what it needs to build healthy cells while able to eliminate, because everything's electromagnetic, and cells that are aberrant are separated electromagnetically. And when you bring your frequency and your pHs really into where they're supposed to be, those cells that aren't in resonance with you get separated and eliminated because they are not attracted to be part of you. It's kind of a chemistry way of looking at it, but that's what we're doing, is we're enabling the body to extinguish and get rid of what, the guy who taught it, Kerry Reams, to get rid of carcinoid cells, because they're not electromagnetically connected on your frequency and your body's controlled by the nervous system. So it's.
Now, going back to your 5-phase approach to health, do you work on the telomeres right away, or do you wait until people get to a certain phase before you start to implement more of the like your product and other ways to increase length of telomeres so that it's more effective?
If you tell someone to take some time to meditate, pray, find some quiet time, plan out their day, reduce their stress load, then basically and you tell people to get away from an unhealthy diet and towards a diet that's actually supportive of health. Are you working with telomeres? According to those physiologists and the research out there, yeah, you are. Ethically, I do not teach people about my product. I think it's wrong for someone to come into my office and I sit here and say, this is what's going on with you, but you have to take my product in order to deal with it. I'm looking at chemistry. Let me improve your overall health. And yes, my product, if you're interested in it, let me tell you about it. Overall, yes, it will make you feel better. But it's not something that I quote say that you need in order for your chemistry to become more effective. So telomere health, if you're working on the aspects of healthy diet, healthy lifestyle, healthy mental, emotional focus, cleaning up your toxic world, air pollution shortens telomeres, water pollution shortens telomeres, cleaning up those 5-phase approach. Yes, you are effectively dealing with telomeres just by the sake of reducing the things that cause them to shorten. But I'm not sitting here pushing my product on anybody. I teach people about it, and I'm not sitting here telling people you have to take my product to prevent aging. If people are looking for something other than drinking coffee all day and keep going, and I just want to feel a little bit better, I say, well, you could try my product. And, and most of the time people are like, we have people just set up on auto ship, and that's just the cheapest way to get it. And they automatically get it shipped to them every month at a discounted price.
Perfect. Is there any final things that you want to make sure that we know about when it comes to anti-aging and telomeres?
Well, I think I think you talked about inflammation and stress. Stress is the key to realizing that leads to the inflammation processes and the turmoil that leads to any type of aging or poor health inflammation process, right? What are your stressors? And so you got to step back. You got to identify what those are. So I teach a process. I look at people's blood. I got a dry blood up on the microscope behind me. I look at live blood moving around, look at the cells. I'm looking for stress patterns. When I look at people's chemistry, I'm looking at stress patterns. What organ systems are handling stress? Where are the deficiencies? What does the body need? When I'm talking to people about self-awareness, I'm looking at stress patterns. You have your stress. Oh no, it's Uncle Jimmy. Well, why does that create that stress in you? Why do you allow it to do that? The only person who's responding to it that way is you, and you're responding to it in a stressful way because how you've trained yourself to respond to it. That's where Nicole LePera comes in and says, hey, let's take a step back and let's kind of observe what's going on, and then let's really look at whether this is the true stress or how you're trained yourself to respond to that stress is the stress. That make sense?
Yep.
I want people to learn to know you. How do you define and want you to be? And what steps are you taking to become you? And when it comes to health, what health do you desire, and are you willing to make the choices to get there? If you're willing to make the choices, I show you a way. Am I a healer? I teach you a path, and as you stay on it, guess what? I observe. What I say is I teach health and I observe restoration is what I do. You know, I don't have some magical bullet. Take my product and you're gonna, you're all your ailments are gonna go away. No. Have we seen people have things go away? Yeah, but that's not the goal. Is to say, why is it happening? Look at the tenets of natural medicine and look at why things are happening and move in there. So identifying those stressors is the key in diet, environment, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. Where am I stressed? You start dealing with that, you are going to add years to your life, period.
Perfect. I love it. And my final question for you is, what is your vision of what healthy looks like, and what are 3 things you do daily to reach that vision?
What does healthy look like to me? It's a wellness. It's an aspect of satisfaction. It's a peace. It's an aspect of not allowing inner turmoil or your world to dictate who you are and how you feel. So things that I do, one is stretching and meditating, finding time to get quiet, relax, stretch. I have found that my body is not doing everything that I used to want it to do, and that stretching and relaxing is key for me, and breathing, so yeah, I could turn around and say jumping in my hyperbaric chamber on a regular basis. It helps, but yeah, 3 things is making the right food choices. I eat the wrong foods, I'm ready to take a nap. My skin still breaks. I can get pimples on my back because I eat wheat, you're not supposed to break out at my age. I'm 35 and dyslexic. Figure it out from there, right? And so, but you're not supposed to break out. So making correct food choices. So eating healthy, drinking water. That's 3 things. Is do I take my supplements inconsistently? And, many people, you take your supplements, start feeling better. I don't need those, and I'm guilty. I'm human. But I realize, but those supplements do help me because I know where I can identify what I need through testing. So certain minerals, certain vitamins, I know that I need. But yeah, just consistency with finding time to relax, quality sleep. That quiet time for just putting things in my head, putting things in perspective, right? And making healthy food choices on a regular basis. Of what I know. So the better you go from farm to table, the better choices you're making for yourself.
Awesome. Well, people can find out more about you at docmisak.com, which is MISAK, and then also vitalometry.com, which will also have all this in the show notes so that people can see how to spell it at summitforwellness.com/155. But if you would like 10% off at vitalometry.com, then use code SUMMIT10. All right, Dr. Misak, thank you so much for coming onto the show. I appreciate you sharing this information. I think the anti-aging industry is super interesting, just the direction things are going and what we're learning about our genes, our telomeres, and everything else. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It was great. I really enjoyed it.
So I just got the product from Doc Misak, the Vitalometry product. So I haven't had a chance to test it out for you guys to let you know how well it works. But if you do want to see how good it works, then head on over to summitforwellness.com/anti-aging, and that will take you right over to Doc Misak's website so you can learn more about Vitalometry. There's a lot of interesting stuff coming up in the anti-aging space. We just talked about telomeres, but there's a lot of stuff coming out about peptides and how to use peptide therapy, which we'll have an episode coming out in a little while all about that. So definitely keep an eye out for that anti-aging space because it's very fascinating, the different stuff that's coming out. Now, none of this is going to prevent you from aging. Let's make that clear. We haven't reached to that point, and I don't know if we'll ever reach that point or if we actually want to reach that point. But it'll allow us as we age to not age ourselves as quickly as what would typically happen if we did nothing. So a lot of this will just make it so as you age, life is a little bit nicer. Your skin might look nicer. Your joints might feel better. So that's kind of the direction anti-aging currently is. So you don't really feel your age once you reach certain age points. In the next episode, I have Dennis Berry on the show. So let's go learn who he is and what we'll be learning about. I am here with Dennis Berry. Hey, Dennis, what is one unique thing about you that most people don't know?
Ooh, well, I love the beach. That it's my happy place. I'm the happiest in the ocean. It makes me happy. It makes me smile and free.
And what will we be learning about in our interview together?
It's okay to take care of yourself, and that there's a difference between being selfish and taking care of yourself. And we all need to take care of ourselves to be more effective for the people in our lives.
And what are your top 3 health tips for anyone who wants to improve their overall wellness and well-being?
Well, I focus a lot on body, mind, and spirit. So I say it's hard to narrow it down to 3, but stop eating sugar, drink as much water as you can, and do some sort of exercise. For some, heavy exercise could be going for a walk. For some, it's CrossFit, or for some, it's a happy medium. But eat less, move more, you'll become happier.
Dennis is a great guy to talk to, and we really got deep into addiction recovery and how to work with people that we know that might have addiction issues and be able to set healthy boundaries and be able to navigate that addiction side, especially if we don't really understand it. So if you are going through addictions and you want to get out of it, or if you know someone that's addicted, or have addictive personalities and trying to figure out how to manage those type of people, then you'll definitely want to listen in on the next episode. So until then, keep climbing to the peak of your health.